Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we dig into different sources, pull out the key nuggets, the surprising insights for you. Today, we're doing a deep dive into excerpts from Ogilvy on advertising. I mean, it's a truly seminal work, isn't it? Decades of wisdom packed in there from, well, one of the most influential figures in advertising history, David Ogilvy. Our mission really is to give you a shortcut, a way to get incredibly well-informed on the core principles of great advertising, great agency management, and, figure out what still powerfully resonates today.
Absolutely. And I think to really get Ogilvy's unique perspective, it helps to know just how unconventional his start was. I mean, he never finished his degree at Oxford, but he developed this incredible discipline, amazing management skills in the intense kitchens of the Hotel Majestic in Paris.
Wow, a high-pressure kitchen.
Exactly. And from there, he became this absolute wizard at door-to-door sales for Olga cookers. His sales manual from that time, Fortune magazine famously called it probably the best sales manual ever written.
Okay, hang on. From a Paris kitchen to door-to-door sales, writing the best manual, that's quite a journey. Okay, let's unpack this. How did that diverse, really practical background shape the advertising principles he championed?
Oh, profoundly. It shaped his entire philosophy, really. He wasn't just some theorist, you know. He understood the grind, the discipline, the direct link between effort and actual results.
Right, the practical side.
Yeah. So his principles were rooted in what actually sells, not just abstract creativity. He knew, intimately, what it took to persuade someone to part with their money. Hashtag tag I. Foundational principles of effective advertising.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, especially if you're trying to build a brand. Ogilvy famously insisted on a thorough understanding of the product and market. Why was that homework, as he put it, so completely non-negotiable for him?
Well, because without it, you're operating on what he called the slippery surface of irrelevant brilliance. That's a great phrase, isn't it?
He really is. Slippery surface.
You might create something flashy, eye-catching, sure. But if it doesn't deeply connect with the buyer, if it doesn't resonate, it's just noise, wasted effort. For Ogilvy, research was the absolute bedrock. It informs everything.
Everything? Like what specifically?
Well, how you position the product, how people perceive it in the market. And it helps you really nail down your target audience, analyzing their age, gender, income, even their media habits. What do they read? What do they watch? There's this striking anecdote in the material where research actually stopped a client from pouring, get this, $600,000 into a new product line for senior citizens.
600,000, wow.
Yeah, all because the research showed a clear lack of interest from that group. Think about that wasted investment without the upfront work.
That's a huge saving, just from doing your homework properly.
Yeah.
But thinking about this, while Ogilvy loved this data-driven approach, doesn't modern psychology suggest decisions aren't always purely rational? There's emotion involved, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You've hit on a really important nuance there. Well, Ogilvy definitely emphasized data. Some perspectives, critical interpretations, suggest this might overlook the powerful influence of emotional, psychological factors.
Like gut feelings.
Sort of. Think about the work of psychologists like, say, Daniel Kahneman. He showed how much our choices are driven by intuition, by biases, not just cold, hard facts. So, yeah, it's rarely purely rational.
Okay, that makes sense. So you've done the homework, you understand the audience, maybe some psychology. What does this mean for the actual ads? Ogilvy famously championed big ideas and putting the product right at the center.
Exactly. Big ideas. They're often elusive, aren't they? They don't just appear. They need a creative process that lets innovative thoughts really flourish. You're aiming for concepts that can truly last, that have legs.
And once you have that idea.
Simplicity. And make the product the absolute hero. That was key for him. Ogilvy argued that straightforward, product-centric messages just resonate more powerfully than something overly clever or, tangential. He believed brands should aim to be seen as positively good.
Positively good, not just better than the competition.
Right. Communicate the benefits, honestly. Don't just focus on trying to one-up the other guy. Be genuinely good and say so clearly. And then, once you have that strong message, repetition is vital. Now, this might sound a bit counterintuitive today with the constant demand for new content.
Yeah, seems like you'd annoy people.
Well, Ogilvy asserted successful ads should be repeated until they genuinely lose effectiveness. His research indicated that repetition could actually attract new consumers.
Really, new people.
Yeah, without necessarily turning off those who'd already seen it. The ultimate goal, as he saw it, create ads so memorable, so embedded in culture that they spark word of mouth. They become part of the conversation. Hashtag tag 2, crafting effective advertisements across platforms.
Ogilvy clearly saw the power in print advertising, even as TV was rising. What were his secrets for making print work? And did his prediction about a renaissance in print actually happen?
Well, for print, he believed it often started and ended with the headline. That was critical. He emphasized headlines must promise a benefit or deliver significant news. Why? Because he argued most readers just skip the body copy if the headline doesn't grab them immediately.
Makes sense. You've got seconds to catch their eye.
Exactly. And here's a surprising bit. He found that longer headlines could actually sell more.
Longer, really?
Yeah, especially if they were specific and used accurate figures. He felt that made them more credible. Then there was his intriguing argument for long copy.
Right, lots of text. Seems counterintuitive, too.
It does, but he argued it often sells more because it communicates more information. It makes the ad feel important, substantial. And, of course, compelling visuals. He specifically pointed to before and after images, noting they could significantly boost sales.
Okay, so strong headlines, maybe long copy, good visuals. But what about that renaissance? Did print boom again like he thought?
Yeah, about that prediction. It's worth, taking a step back. While he was optimistic, and print definitely still has its place, modern trends do raise questions. We live in a very screen-dominated world now, don't we?
Definitely.
Data from places like Statista, Pew Research, it consistently shows advertising spending and consumer habits shifting massively towards digital platforms. So while print is impactful in certain niches, maybe specific magazines or direct mail, that broad renaissance across the board, it hasn't quite happened as he perhaps envisioned.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Okay, let's connect this to television then. Ogilvy really leaned on research for his TV commercial insights. What did that research tell him worked? And maybe more interestingly, what did he think was just ineffective?
Oh, he had some strong opinions backed by data, he'd say. He identified several commercial types he found, well, generally ineffective. Celebrity testimonials, for instance. He observed they often led to what he called brand forgetfulness.
You remember the star, not the product.
Exactly. You remember the celebrity, but not what they were selling. He also found cartoons less persuasive for adults, more entertainment than sales. And musical vignettes. Same issue. Too focused on being entertaining, not on moving product.
So what did he think worked on TV?
Humor, surprisingly. He found it could positively impact sales, which kind of went against some earlier beliefs. Also, slice-of-life situations, those mini stories that naturally lead to a product endorsement. Authentic testimonials, not just celebrities. Compelling demonstrations. And clear problem-solution narratives. Those worked. And his practical tips for making TV ads were incredibly specific. Things like clear brand identification right at the beginning, always show the product package at the end.
Make sure people see what to buy.
Right. Make food look appealing through motion. Think steam, sizzle, pouring. Use close-ups. He advised avoiding jingles, interestingly, but using music judiciously.
No jingles.
Yeah, he preferred on-camera presenters speaking directly, reinforcing spoken promises with text on screen, limiting rapid scene changes, which he thought were confusing, and using mnemonics, visual or sound cues for brand reinforcement.
That is incredibly detailed. But on that celebrity point, he was skeptical, yet they're still everywhere today. Is his skepticism still valid, or has the whole influencer and celebrity culture changed things?
That's a really good question, and it is a key point of discussion, isn't it? While Ogilvy had his doubts, the effectiveness today seems to vary hugely. It depends on the context, the audience, and crucially, how genuinely aligned the celebrity is with the brand.
So authenticity matters.
Hugely. If the connection feels real, if a celebrity truly embodies the brand's values, it can be incredibly powerful. But if it just looks like a famous face cashing a check, then Ogilvy's skepticism about brand forgetfulness probably still holds true. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Right, context is key. Okay, shifting gears slightly. Ogilvy called direct mail his first love and secret weapon. What made it so powerful for him? And how did his approach to business, B2B ads, differ from consumer ads?
Direct mail was his favorite, partly because it's so incredibly measurable and testable. That was huge back then. You could easily experiment with pricing, different offers, different formats, and see exactly what worked. You couldn't really do that with TV or print in the same way.
You could track the results directly.
Precisely. And he shared some, well, wild anecdotes like sending live pigeons as part of one campaign.
Live pigeons? Seriously?
Apparently so. Or there was the United Negro College Fund campaign. A compelling letter distributed on commuter trains generated $26,000 in contributions in just one evening. Remarkable.
Wow. So what about B2B then? Different ballgame.
Yeah, different focus. For B2B ads, he argued they should clearly show how the product saves the company money. That was the bottom line. And target top management with broad benefits, not get lost in, complex technical details. He also noted that four-color ads really pulled in more readers in the B2B space. Significant difference. However, it's worth adding a critical note here. While Ogilvy's detailed, long-copy approach for B2B was groundbreaking then,
It might not work now.
well, it might not resonate quite as universally in today's super fast-paced corporate world. Many executives now seem to prioritize quick, digestible insights, snappy visuals, bullet points. Modern research often points to this shift towards more visual, more succinct content, reflects the pace, I guess. So his techniques, while brilliant, might need some modern adaptation. Hashtag TACTAC3, running and growing an advertising agency.
This all raises a big question. What did Ogilvy believe made a truly great advertising agency, especially when it came to finding and keeping talented people?
Leadership and hiring. He had incredibly strong views here, sometimes a bit controversial. Successful leaders, he argued, they need to be enthusiastic, honest, resilient, charming, possess strong communication skills. They have to inspire people, fulfill their psychological needs, essentially.
In hiring.
Hire exceptional talent, look for curiosity, humor, dedication, but, and this was a big one for him, actively avoid nepotism. No hiring friends, relatives, or clients' kids.
Really? That strict?
Oh, yeah. He believed it fatally complicated workplace dynamics, diluted the talent pool. He also stressed balancing promoting from within with bringing in external talent to keep things fresh, inject new perspectives.
That's a bold stance on hiring, especially the no nepotism part. I can see the logic, especially for creativity. But thinking about today, where networking and connections often feel so important, does that strict rule still hold up? Or is it maybe a bit too rigid for modern agency culture?
That's a fantastic question, and it really does highlight a tension, doesn't it, between his principles and maybe today's realities. Personal connections are undeniably important, we all know that. But I think his core principle that talent and merit should always come first, that's pretty timeless if you want genuine excellence.
Sure.
And modern thinking on leadership, like from Kouzes and Posner, also emphasizes that it's not about one single rigid style. Effective leadership is adaptable, right? It needs to resonate with the specific team, foster trust, build a culture of meritocracy. So maybe the execution looks different today, but the underlying wisdom of hiring the best person for the job, that still feels vital.
Absolutely. And beyond just hiring the right people, he was passionate about the work environment itself. Leaders, he said, should actively stamp out office politics and rivalry, foster real collaboration, real teamwork.
Easier said than done sometimes. True, but crucial. He also believed in maintaining professional standards, discipline around punctuality, performance, and perhaps surprisingly, he had a compassionate side. He noted that dealing with issues like, say, alcoholism, compassionately could actually help retain valuable employees, not just discard them.
That's quite enlightened for his time.
It is. His practical tips for running an agency included things like consolidating roles, engaging staff, informally walking the halls, talking to people, prioritizing verbal communication over endless memos, using client products yourself, showing commitment, and famously refraining from sending complaint letters. He even painted this picture of an ideal agency where laughter echoes through the halls, creativity flows. That positive vibe, he believed, drove success.
He also had some pretty direct advice for clients, didn't he? That famous line, clients get the advertising they deserve. So how did he suggest agencies actually get and keep great clients? And what pitfalls did he warn about?
Well, the easiest way to get new clients, he always said, was simply to do exceptional work. Let the results speak for themselves. Showcase your successful campaigns. Agencies should lead by example. For clients choosing an agency, he advised, evaluate their past work carefully. Meet the agency heads personally. Check the chemistry. Agree on fair pay.
Makes sense. Build a real partnership.
Exactly. He even suggested insisting on 5-year contracts for stability, though that might be harder today. And he was candid about turning down business. He recounted turning down clients with bad credit risks, or those whose ethos just didn't fit the agency, as you have to be selective. He also pointed out this irony that ad agencies are often terrible at marketing themselves. He stressed the need for consistency, clarity in their own self-promotion.
The cobbler's children have no shoes.
Pretty much. And it's important to remember this point about agency success. While brilliant creative is vital, success hinges on more than just that. Factors like market conditions, the actual client relationship, the broader economy, they're all crucial. Think about someone like Philip Kotler, right? Effective marketing is always about the whole ecosystem, not just one great campaign in isolation. Hashtag tag guy. The global landscape and future of advertising. What's also really fascinating is how Ogilvy looked at advertising across different cultures. He saw major differences, shifts in global leadership, insights that feel pretty relevant even now.
Oh,
Yeah.
how did he see different countries?
Well, he contrasted American advertising, which he saw as very direct, competitive with British advertising. He found the British style more subtle, nostalgic, humorous, entertaining, kind of lighthearted. It treated products with a bit more proportion.
Interesting comparison. What about elsewhere?
He praised French advertising for its wit and aesthetic flair. German advertising, he noted, faced challenges like a shortage of pros and limited TV time back then. Smaller European markets often struggled with budgets, relied more on guesswork than research. He even talked about the not invented here syndrome, NIH.
NIH.
Yeah, where multinational corporations faced pushback from local branches who preferred their own campaigns over centrally developed ones. He also touched on advertising in communist countries, noting Hungary was doing the best work at the time, and China, which was just starting to adapt after 1978, with radio being key. Ultimately, he really emphasized cultural relevance. He cited successful campaigns in places like Thailand and Brazil that succeeded because they deeply understood the local culture.
That makes perfect sense. Culture is key.
And Ogilvy was also a strong defender of commercial advertising's integrity. He argued legal scrutiny generally kept it more honest than, say, political advertising, which he saw as fundamentally dishonest and unregulated.
Strong words about political ads.
Very strong. He was also quite critical of billboards. He argued they ruin the scenery, were a safety hazard, and noted public support for removing them despite industry pushback. And he firmly believed consumers aren't stupid. They quickly figure out if a product is poor quality and won't buy it again. So he advocated for factual information, improving the product itself rather than trying to mislead people.
It's clear he had strong ethical opinions and wasn't afraid to voice them. He also acknowledged other giants who shaped the industry before or alongside him, right?
Oh, absolutely. He stood on the shoulders of giants, as they say. He acknowledged people like Albert Lasker, who popularized salesmanship in print, really emphasizing copywriting. Stanley Reeser, who massively expanded J. Walter Thompson, was a huge champion of research and, importantly, hired talented women copywriters when that was very uncommon. And Raymond Rubicam, who really influenced advertising ethics and the whole creative side of the business. Ogilvy knew he was part of a larger history.
So, looking forward. To wrap things up, Ogilvy didn't just look back. In Chapter 19, he made some really fascinating predictions about the future of advertising. What did he see coming?
Yeah, some interesting calls there. He predicted a huge increase in knowledge about what works and what doesn't, driven by more research. He foresaw that renaissance in print advertising, which we discussed, maybe didn't fully pan out in the way he imagined. A shift towards ads with more information and less hot air. More honesty, essentially.
Literally, guys.
Wouldn't it? He also anticipated better control of commercial clutter on TV and radio. And a big increase in government advertising for educational purposes, public health, even addressing population growth. Maybe most optimistically, he predicted political candidates would actually move away from dishonest advertising.
Okay, that one feels
Yeah.
ambitious even now.
Perhaps a bit. He also saw the quality and efficiency of international advertising rising dramatically. He thought foreign agencies might even surpass American ones and succeed in the U.S. market. And finally, he believed multinational companies would expand globally by truly adapting their campaigns to local cultures, not just, translating slogans literally.
So, as we kind of pull all this together, reflecting on this deep dive into Ogilvy's world, it's striking how much his insights still resonate, isn't it? From that relentless focus on homework to the power of a genuine big idea. He really was a master at understanding human nature and turning that into actual sales.
He absolutely struck a profound balance, didn't he, between these sort of timeless principles of persuasion and anticipating future shifts.
Mm.
He always grounded his philosophy in the practical, in results, even while being pretty candid about advertising's flaws. It's that mix of pragmatism and foresight, I think, that makes his ideas so enduring.
So for you listening, as you reflect on Ogilvy's world, what does his legacy tell you about the real purpose, the potential of compelling communication? Not just in advertising, but in any field, selling a product, a service, even just an idea. Think about this. Ogilvy defended commercial advertising as a force for good, sometimes promoting tourism for Puerto Rico, supporting the World Wildlife Fund. Yet he absolutely slammed political advertising as dishonest. In our current age, with pervasive digital influence, constant information overload, what responsibility does that place on all of us, both as communicators and as consumers? How critically should we evaluate the messages we create and the ones we encounter every single day? Something to think about.